First, we have Dakota Johnson.
Hi.
Hey. And Kiki Palmer.
Hello.
Hey, y'all. Dakota, Kiki, thank you both so much for joining me today. We are on day 5 of Sundance. How are y'all feeling?
Yeah, I've spent the last 5 days on just staring at people on my computer. It's bizarre.
Yeah. Yeah, this is not how human beings are supposed to interact, but so
No.
thanks for bearing
No.
with me and for bearing with all of this, y'all. Dakota, I'd love to start with you for a second. You've got two films in this year's festival, Am I Okay and Cha Cha Real Smooth. Can you tell us a bit about both of them?
Yeah, it's kind of amazing. I haven't been to Sundance since I was like 22 or something, and I these are the first two movies that my production company made, and we made them both during during the pandemic that we're still in. Um, and the first one that we made was Am I Okay? And it's directed by Tig Notaro and Stephanie Allen, who are married, and they are it's like a comedy. It's in the genre of comedy, but it's about a woman coming out in her 30s, coupled with a sort of female friendship narrative. And then Cha Cha Real Smooth is directed by Cooper Rafe, who is 24, and he made a movie called Shit House that won South by Southwest a few years ago. And he sadly has never been to a festival because he started making movies during the pandemic. So
Wow.
it's really sad. But that one is about a kid who comes home from college and he gets a job as a party starter at bar mitzvahs and falls in love with a mother of an autistic girl. Then those are the movies.
How did those come to you and what drew you to producing those two?
The one with Tig and Stephanie directing, I hopped onto that as a producer when I signed on to star in it. It was like the early days of my company, and we everything else that we were making was pushed and pushed because of the pandemic. And this one, we had started to we were going to shoot it before we shut down. We were supposed to start shooting like the week of when everything started to happen. So we sort of like I basically just forced my company upon everybody. I was like, if you want me to be in the movie, then you have to let me produce it. And I think they were like, fine. But then we ended up like casting a few great people, and then we had to recalibrate and like pare things down so that we weren't in very public places, and we were in more contained places, and that was like great. And then Cha Cha, my producing partner Ro had a meeting with Cooper, and she said she loved him and that I would love him and to watch Shit House, so I did. And have you seen Shit House?
I haven't, but apparently I need to.
It's really great. It's like he made it for $0, and he wrote it and directed it and starred in it and edited it and produced it. He's like an annoyingly gifted person.
And you said he's
Um,
24.
and he's 24, and he's super charming and super smart and like so soulful and rare. I think it's rare to find young men who are so soulful. And so
He
that
sounds
one I
very
met
Gen
with.
Z.
What was that?
He sounds very Gen Z.
Yes, very Gen Z. Very Gen Z. That's what we were like, oh, this is gonna communicate to a lot of people, this energy, this vibe. So we met with him, and he said he had this idea. It was like a seedling of an idea called Cha Cha Real Smooth. And then he wrote it. And then we went back and forth and like really fleshed out the female characters and developed that from the beginning. So the Cha Cha really has our DNA all over it.
Yeah, it's beautiful, and you're soulful is the right word. That's the word that really comes through when you're watching it, right? Not just in how the characters relate to each other, but even the way it's lit the way they move.
I'm assuming it has something to do with cha-cha, real smooth.
Yeah.
Not it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Classic.
Yeah.
The cha-cha slide.
Yeah, that's the real party starter.
Yep.
Dakota, I was thinking a bit about.
Wait, can I ask a question for Kiki? So how old were you when you started making movies?
I was 9. I was 9 years old.
And your mom would choose what you would go out for, and that's really amazing.
Yes. Yes, she was very critical about it actually, because she was really afraid of, me being influenced incorrectly or putting out it's so interesting, for me to do a role like Alice, I feel like it was just coming in my life because my parents are so like that. They always talk to me about, being a young Black person, you need to make sure that everything you do, that's in the back of your mind, that people are watching. Obviously, that's a very big responsibility, and it's complex as it pertains to art, because obviously everybody views art so differently, and you don't want to be bogged down to one idea like, oh, I can only play superheroes, right? But there's a fine line in that of, if you're going to do a role, even if it is complex and people might be jarred by it, can you talk about why you did it? Can you give a good perspective of why you chose that? And so they were very strict about that. And I think it really did help me.
That's so cool. What amazing guidance to have.
Yes.
Yeah. I did a movie when I was 9.
Really? Seriously.
But my mom was in it.
Wow. What movie? Which movie? Obviously, I'm a fan of your mom.
It's called Crazy in Alabama, and I played her daughter, and my stepdad directed it. So I guess it was kind of the same thing, but
yes, it is the same thing, except your parents was able to put it all together. Thank God.
Yeah. But then I didn't work again until I was 18. They wanted me to not be involved in movies.
Yeah. I'm glad you found your way back to it though.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
How'd
you find your way back?
I wanted to work. I was desperate to be on set. I wanted to make movies so badly. And I think they wanted me to study, and they wanted me to have a proper education. They wanted me to, my dad really wanted me to go to college. He wanted some kind of, I think he wanted me to be some kind of a scholar, and I really was not interested because I grew up on set. I grew up traveling. I was always on location with them. And when they split, I was between the two weeks with one and then 2 weeks, and they'd be all over the world. And so I never learned how to study correctly or how to time management and how to sit in a classroom. It was so hard for me, but I was obsessed with books, and I was obsessed with film, and I was obsessed with the world and with people. And so when I graduated, I wanted to work, and I started auditioning and got some jobs.
You being obsessed with books works so perfectly with where I was first introduced to you with 50 Shades of Grey. So I'm like, oh yeah, so she likes, yeah, that's so cool. You love books, yeah. That some of the greatest stories are in books, if not all.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the last film, I want to ask you about Am I Okay and Cha-Cha in a second, but the last film that you were in for this, or that we saw you in, was The Lost Daughter, which is Maggie Gyllenhaal's adaptation of the famous Elena Ferrante novel, right? And so that film, I mean, how did you come to Ferrante's books, right? What do you love about those?
Well, I read the Neapolitan series because I went to an all-girls Catholic boarding school for 1 year in Northern California, and it was horrible. But there was this one girl who was my best friend. Her name's Justine, and she's the one she gave me the first of the novels later in our 20s. And so that's how I knew about Elena Ferrante. And then I watched the My Beautiful Friend show, which I found to be so beautiful, so beautiful. And then I read Maggie's script, and it was less about Elena Ferrante. It was more about Maggie for me. She's just such a force and a real seeker of truth, and I was like beckoned by it. I was so intrigued, and I was so, she's so powerful. Her mind is really powerful, and her heart is just intricate. And I learned so much. Like Kiki was saying, you know, there's so much discovery that happens when you do a role, that's mostly the reason why I choose things, is like, oh, this is gonna really teach me something, or I'm drawn to it for a reason that I can't explain, but it's like stretching into the depths of myself in a way, like reaching into the far corners of my heart or my mind, and there's a whole different woman in there.
Yeah. Wonderful way to put it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's wonderful. You know, I remember reading a while ago that you'd said The Lost Daughter was working on that was a new experience for you, in the sense that it was your first time being directed by someone who's also an actor.
Yeah.
What did that feel like? Like, how did that change the experience for you?
Well, you know, Scott Cooper was an actor before he was a director, which he likes to tell people. But it's different being directed by a female actor. And I think it's because there is a different, well, I don't know. I guess in this specific environment, because we were like a lot of the time on the beach in bathing suits, and like, because it was so much about the intricate and complicated feelings around motherhood, and Maggie is a mother, but she's also like a fucking amazing actress. And she knows what it feels like to be an actor acting. It can be so exposing and so vulnerable and so confusing, you know, like you can feel so lost. And I think she really understands how that feels, and also is able to hold you and guide you. And so there's like an empathy, I think, that she has, or an understanding that she has. She also has her own special ways of finding a character and finding moments that were so helpful. But yeah, I think when you to have a woman who knows what it feels like to be in front of the camera in a very exposed way, whether it's emotionally or physically, was really cool.
There's something really beautiful I remember you reading you say about that film, Dakota, that was about women's reactions to it when they watch it. And I've been thinking about that as you talk about the experience of working with Maggie, but just that intensity, that sense of finding something about yourself, something about this experience through feeling vulnerable, through feeling something that can be difficult. And I remember the quote, something to the effect of, "After it hurts, they love it." And I remember being curious about what films have had that effect on you. Like, have there been works that, you know, have been difficult for you in the experience of watching them, or even of being part of them, but that you find yourself coming through the other side as a viewer, as part of it, changed, and sort of having an appreciation for it?
Yeah. I think when I'm watching films and it hurts, usually it's because I love it. You know, I think the most recent one, I don't know if you guys have seen the movie, The Worst Person in the World.
No, sounds a great title though.
It is like, oh my God, it's so brilliant. It's so brilliant. And it wrecked me. It like, I was crying in a way that was like weird. I was trying to make it less than what it was meant to be. I was trying to not cry as hard as my body wanted to cry. And I don't know why. And I don't remember the last time I like wept in a film, but I did. And then I think also on set, like I always have a hard time when I'm making movies. It's never like, oh, that was so easy, you know, because I really care so much that I'll like really fight for something, and I'll really want to understand something. And I I don't know. I think I just like it hurts when you birth something. So that happens to me all the time.
You also published a book last year.
Me.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. Are you talking about Southern Belle Insults?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Can you tell us, like,
what was your book?
that's something I thought about watching both Am I Okay and Cha Cha Real Smooth, actually. Just the idea of learning, like, things like what you're doing, yes, but also just who you are at ages that are later than, than people give us space for, or that are not just like being a teenager. And I was curious about that watching both those films, Dakota. What drew you to that element, and if there are things that you feel like you're still learning about yourself that came through as you're working on those films.
Yeah, I think I liked the idea, and I guess it is in both of them, that you don't have to have everything figured out by a certain point in your life. Like it's entirely impossible to do that. And it's so I think it the world would be a much calmer place if people had a little bit more room to just grow and be and change. And so I guess the women that were written in these films are in a way like, I guess I always see female archetypes that are fully realized, and don't I don't identify with that. I'm like, God, I'm never going to be that. And it's interesting with the lost daughter, because even like we were getting reactions from women being like, God, thank you for saying that. Thank you for saying that it's really hard to be a mother and it's not always nice and I don't always like it. But then the other interesting part was men being like, oh, those are the women that I recognize. Like that is my mom, or that is my partner. It's not this like perfectly happy, buttoned up, gorgeous thing that like I never actually see in real life because it's not real. So I guess with Cha Cha and Am I Okay, it was women who are alive and like bleeding, beating people. They are thoughtful and discovering themselves. And I think like I'm like that in my life all the time. When I'm like, oh, okay, cool, I've got this, then something happens and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing at all. So
I always love that about Diane Keaton,
yeah.
obviously. But when you said that, I totally understand.
Yeah. Yeah, same. Good call.
Yeah, I wouldn't even have thought of that right now. That there's something about watching both of those films, and again, like knowing that you produce those stories, right, that had me thinking a bit about your working process with your producing partner. And I just would love to hear how the two of you first decided to form Tea Time, and sort of what your collaboration looks like. Because I remember like ages, a while back, just reading you talking about your own process or your ideation kind of being this big and amorphous and sometimes hard to latch onto thing. Does
Yeah.
that still feel true? Like, is that a sort of core tenet of how the two of you work together?
Yeah, she's definitely the more grounded of the two of us. I'll be like, we need to do this, and I have this idea. And she's like, okay, let's actually do what is possible. But the thing that we both really believe in is like sticking to the integrity of the story that we set out to tell, and always pushing the boundaries a little bit and never trying to fit into some box or into some like model of what we know to be successful in streaming or cinema. I don't find that to be fulfilling. I also don't find it to be what people want to watch. I think people want to be challenged, and they want to feel like they are experiencing something that maybe exists inside themselves that they haven't looked at before. But we, even in terms of like, how do we deal with COVID and making movies? Like, let's really think outside the box and trust people, and believe in people, like how do we do this in a way that is still creative, even if it's the most mundane of production activities. And we also really care about continuing, like building working relationships with people that are recycled. And so we work often with the same DP, same group of grips, same crew, same costume designers, same, and everyone feels like they're on this team where they feel really seen for their creativity and their talents. And then it's like, even if the budget is so low and even if it is so uncomfortable and the hours are insane, everybody works so hard and has such a great time because they feel supported and they feel like they're a part of something, they belong somewhere. And it's so amazing. It's been like, that is the thing that I crave. And I think I find it a lot on sets, but not all the time. There's some sets where like you don't really see anybody at the end of the day and you go home and it's really lonely, or you go back to your hotel room and nobody like really cares about each other. And it happens, and that's fine. But then there are other sets where you find a family and you find people who are like, you're going to know them for the rest of your life, and they touch something in you, and you have a growth together. And that's what I want Tea Time to hopefully do.
You've worked on so much in the time since this pandemic has been happening. I was looking back at everything, how did you manage that?
I don't know. No, I don't know. It's been really crazy. It's like the pandemic started and I didn't stop. I just kept going and didn't stop working. And maybe it's because then I was at home, so I could get so many things done. But then I made 4 movies last year, and it was a lot. It was like way too much, but also so much fun. I don't know. It was nuts, but I just rolled with it. Yeah, I definitely felt very privileged, very lucky. Yeah, I find like finding solace in things is a really uh, elusive thing to try to do right now. It's almost like something feels safe and good and then it turns to shit. So I feel pretty depressed about the whole world right now. Kiki's answer was better. Don't focus on me. It varies. That's how I enjoy it. I think I watched Hand of God last night, and it's so crazy beautiful, that film. Just so beautiful that I at some moments would have to stop it and rewind it and watch something again. But that's how I love movies. But then there's also shows like Succession that I watch and I can disappear into it. It's so good. Yeah. I don't know. I've been watching a lot of the Academy movies, and Come On, Come On, Mike Mills' film is really incredible. I want to see more of the films that are at Sundance, but it's like impossible to watch them because I'm in so much press.
Sorry.
I'm really excited to see Alice. I can't wait.
Yeah, there's some really really great things in this year's lineup. It's been a real treat to watch them, and I'm sorry we're stealing your time so you can't, but you'll get to it, I swear. That I remember reading a while ago actually that you did an early pandemic interview with Dakota and mentioned rewatching Notting Hill early on. Um,
Did
and
I?
yeah, it stuck with me because I'm a big Notting Hill, like Hugh Grant
It's a great
early.
movie.
Yeah, like a very nearly perfect movie.
Yeah.
But one, what is it you love about that, and also like what do you enjoy about that category of film more broadly, right? The rom com, the movies that like I think there's such a such a warmth to that. That's not just the romance, right? But it's like the way that everybody in that movie relates to each other.
Yeah, I love romance. I love romantic movies. I love movies where people end up together. That's hopeful to me. It's nice. I don't know. Also, Four Weddings, I watched in the beginning of that movie is just perfect. It's perfect. Like it's a brilliant film. And I think it's a different style of comedy. It's not like goofy, it's not like a goofy rom-com. It's like really real and self-deprecating and intelligent. And I really appreciate that. I guess it's just my sense of humor, sort of. Not that I'm calling myself intelligent, but definitely self-deprecating.
Hey,
Hold on, I have a question. You can see if people have ever contacted you on social media?
yes. So I have my thing on my on my settings set to I can't see anyone's messages unless they follow me. So sometimes I go to somebody's page that I don't follow, you know what I mean? And I'll think, I wonder if they've ever contacted me. And so you click messages and then you'll finally be able to see if they have or if they haven't. I found out about it one time when I, went to somebody who I didn't follow to message them. I seen they had messaged me all these things. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I wonder who else this has happened with that I haven't seen their messages. And so I do it all the time now.
Wow, how amazing.
Did y'all see there was a video a while back of T-Pain seeing all of the messages he had gotten that he had never seen before?
Who?
Wait,
Like
say it again?
did y'all see there was T-Pain?
Oh,
There was like a
yeah.
video of him a while ago, right? Seeing all the messages that he had gotten, and everybody was like, "We love
Yes, so many. He has
Were
so
you one of
many.
them, Kiki? Have you been sliding into T-Pain's DMs?
Not that time. T-Pain, unfortunately, not, but I do love T-Pain.
Okay, Dakota, what about you that you can tell us about? Because I know you have so much stuff coming up with Tea Time.
I don't know. What do you want to know? Who do I want to work with, or what's coming up?
First, who you want to work with, and then actually, what's coming up that you can tell us about?
There's so many people that I would love to work with. I really can't name I mean, so many. I had a meeting the other day with Michel Gondry, and I love him so much. I like really seriously love him. He's just a really fantastic person and I think a genius artist. And I have Persuasion coming out in this year. I don't know when yet, but then I have I think Tea Time. I think we're gonna make a film called Daddy-O with Christy Hall directing. She wrote it, and me and Sean Penn.
Oof, love Sean Penn.
Yeah, he's
So incredible actor as well. Yeah.
yeah.